Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we'll be presenting our AT Ed topic, which is test taking anxiety amongst PA students. Getting ready to take an exam in PA school can often feel like you're going through the TSA line at the airport. Rapid instructions, everything to organize at once, and suddenly a wave of stress and anxiety hit you. If that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. I know for myself and for many other classmates, PA school was a rude awakening. The transition from undergrad to PA school meant that the same study and test taking strategies that we utilized before were not always holding up against the increased volume of material and high stakes timed exams. It actually took me struggling through those demands to realize the importance of using my resources like OSAS early on so I could perform well on exams and truly feel like I was showing up to be my best. When you add stress, anxiety, sleep deprivation, and overall overwhelm, it can quickly become difficult to perform at your best, especially with only 60 seconds per question and a ticking clock. Today, we're going to be talking about test taking anxiety among PA students, why it happens, how it affects performance, and some practical strategies to manage it.
So, what's the problem? Test anxiety is a common issue among physician assistant students due to their high academic stressors, pressure, and frequent high stake exams. This anxiety could impair their concentration, their memory, and performance, preventing their students from basically demonstrating their abilities while potentially impacting their health and academic success.
Now I'm going to talk about how the data influenced the decisions about our project. So we looked at the LAC DHS service planning area and we found three statistics that we wanted to share. The first one being that 14.9% of adults had fair or poor mental health status in the city of Alhambra. 20.6% said that they had to use a mental health service within the past year because of emotional and mental health problems. And 7.8% sought out some sort of help from an online tool, including mobile app services or texting services for mental health and emotional reasons. We found two Healthy People 2030 objectives that aligned well with our project, both surrounding prevention, education, and health professions programs and PA programs by utilizing online tools for mental health and emotions to increase clinical prevention and population health education and PA training programs to effectively study and reduce test anxiety. In order to gather data for our needs assessment, we surveyed 43 PA students in the class of 26, 27, and 28, and we got a lot of responses. 68% reported feeling anxious often or always before exams. 14% reported anxiety significantly or severely impacts their exam performance. And the top sources of their anxiety included 84% fear of failure or remediation, 72% volume of material, 56% high stakes grading and time limits, and the barriers to managing anxiety included 78% lack of time, 79% academic workload, and 19% lack of knowledge on coping strategies. So we decided to find strategies and implement them in our next few slides. So we had to do a literature review to go over the various techniques and coping strategies for our students. We found two literature reviews as supporting evidence for our project. The first one being Cardiovagal Tone and Generalized Anxiety Disorder, a case control study. And the second one was How Tapping Works, Physiological and Psychological Mechanisms in Energy Psychology. We also found two websites, including Tension and Trauma Releasing Exercises by Dr. Bercelli and Cognitive Behavioral Therapy website in Los Angeles that talks about positive affirmations. So now I'm going to talk about the implementation strategies to reduce test anxiety. The first one being cardiovagal tone breathing. So this is a deep breathing test. So it measures heart rate variability during deep breathing. So it's 6 breaths per minute, 5 seconds of inhaling, 5 seconds of exhaling. The literature review found results that patients with generalized anxiety disorder had significantly lower heart rate variability with deep breathing, with a p-value of 0.009 compared to control groups, which indicates reduced parasympathetic or vagal activity. So basically, cardiovagal tone is equivalent to the brain-heart axis distribution. It's a physiological marker that reduces anxiety levels. And the second one was the emotional freedom technique. So the steps to doing this was focusing on the problem, rating the distress, tapping acupoints while thinking about it, repeating it until the distress stops, and introducing calm beliefs. So the idea is that tapping works by sending signals throughout the body and calming the amygdala, which is the brain's stress center. So this leads to lower cortisol and better heart rate variability as well. So the third technique is positive affirmation. This is done through cognitive behavioral therapy. The idea is reframing your thoughts. So whatever you say, what you believe is what's going to happen. So we shift our perspective by allowing us to reclaim control of our mental landscape. And the fourth one is shaking it out. So Ms. Rita also introduced this to us, which I'll talk about in the next slide, but shaking it out is actually a trauma releasing exercise discovered by Dr. Bercelli, which is a PhD, and he was an expert in trauma intervention and the creator of trauma releasing exercises. He was working in war-torn areas giving trauma recovery services, and his theory was that trauma causes tightening of your muscles, which leads to voluntary triggering of tremors from your body to go from fight or flight to relaxed state. So that response that we have is an instinctual response to reduce the tension and to cause decrease in anxiety. Lastly, we use our own personal experiences and techniques to implement to reduce test anxiety, and we also use USE resources, one being Miss Sharita, who is a facilitator for extended time. She gave us techniques to implement before we started exams. She also was able to view our direct behaviors before we take exams, so she was able to help mitigate some of our anxieties and worries by shaking it out and deep breathing and giving us some positive affirmations. Also, we gave USC resources, including USC mental health services, OSAS information, and faculty contacts that we would later use in our intervention, which Ashley is going to be talking about next.
So now that we've identified the issue that PA students do experience testing anxiety within their PA education, we wanted to share the information that we've gathered, including the research and the statistics, as well as the resources and techniques that we found in a way that was best suitable for PA students. And we thought that the way to best do this was through the use of a photo novella. What is that exactly? It's an educational tool that uses storytelling through photographs with simple captions and dialogue, for example, speech bubbles, to convey health information in an engaging and digestible manner. We were first introduced to the idea through our education class, where we saw mental health being depicted through personal experiences as well as resources being shared in a way that wasn't too wordy but very effective. And through our needs assessment, we found that PA students did lack time. And the last thing we wanted to do was give information in an overwhelming way and make students feel like this is more studying to do. So the photo novella allowed us to deliver material in a quick, relatable, and non-overwhelming way that was both low cost and easy to share. We were able to distribute our photo novella via email, which was no cost to us at all. And then for our visual learners, because we wanted to keep in mind that people kind of take in information very differently, we wanted to make coping strategies visible, relatable, and rehearsable through storytelling. So we do have a lot of pictures of how to do these coping strategies, and we even created a video too, so that way students can mimic how we kind of go through our own techniques. And lastly, we know that PA school is about community. We know how important it is to get advice from those who have gone through it. So we thought sharing our own experiences through storytelling was a really great way to let students know that they're not alone if they're experiencing testing anxiety, and just kind of going through our own experiences so that way they can kind of relate as well. And now we have a few pages from our photo novella that we shared. This is the information that we've been talking about, those life experiences kind of mimicking what it feels like to take a TIM exam and how nerve-wracking and anxious you can feel right before it. Also, the statistics and data. This is from the needs assessment, where we gathered information from the 3 cohorts of the USC PA program, where 68% of students reported feeling anxious often or almost always before an exam, also indicating the top sources of stress, fear of failure, volume of material, as well as barriers to managing anxiety, for example, lack of time, academic workload, through pictures and through small text as well. So that way students can see that they're not alone in regards to test anxiety. Here are additional pages from our photo novella that includes the resources and techniques that students can use. In the resources, we included hyperlinks so that way it can be a little easier for students to kind of just click on that link and get directly sent to the website. We also included our amazing student support coordinators information. So if they're feeling a little overwhelmed, don't know where to start, they can always talk to Ms. Sharita. We also included the techniques here so you can see the pictures we've added, as well as very quick descriptions of how to do each one. Because again, we didn't want this to be very wordy. We wanted this to be a very quick read where students aren't going to feel overwhelmed. So kind of just highlighting those big points of how to do these techniques.
This is a framework that we relied on to ensure that our intervention actually reaches the students who need it most. First, we have health literacy. We know that when you're in a panic before a big TIM or EOR exam, you can't digest another textbook or overwhelming chart. We use simple language, quick read visuals, and demonstration videos to make these tools easier and hopefully fun to learn. We also made sure to include coping mechanisms that can be quickly implemented. For cultural humility, we recognize that test anxiety isn't one size fits all. It's shaped by our unique experiences and the individual stigmas we may carry about mental health. Our intervention takes this into account by keeping our peer-to-peer approach relatable and non-judgmental. For trauma-informed practices, we understand that many of us may carry academic trauma from previous challenging classes or failed exams. We aim to use non-shaming language and prioritize self-autonomy. We don't tell you what you should do, but we do offer a variety of options so you can choose what feels best for you. And finally, our framework includes equity and inclusion. A resource is only equitable if it's accessible. PA school is already expensive enough. We therefore made sure to make our intervention 100% free, and we provided it in both digital and printable formats, ensuring all three PA cohorts have the same opportunity to succeed. This leads us to how we incorporated advocacy in this process. We used our intervention to normalize both testing anxiety and testing accommodations. We advocated for the idea that using resources like OSAS is a sign of professional self awareness, not a weakness. By bringing our ideas to faculty present today, we hope to increase awareness that helping students with their testing anxiety is not one size fits all. It is much more impactful learning about how to manage testing anxiety from fellow peers who have also gone through it, in addition to faculty led lectures for OSAS and testing accommodations. In regards to our lessons learned, one of our biggest realizations was that academic readiness does not always equal emotional readiness. It was surprising to learn from our questionnaires that while some may feel confident in their academic preparedness, many are still experiencing some level of testing anxiety. Although lectures and content review sessions are needed, students also need physiological regulation tools to help them succeed. Our interview with Ms. Sharita further supported this, revealing that stress peaks during the second semester as students anticipate the curriculum becoming even more difficult. This taught us that incorporating coping strategies prior to this peak stress semester would be an effective way to provide support. Finally, we realized that peer to peer advice is a unique and effective way to break through the stigma of seeking help. By sharing these coping strategies and accommodation resources as fellow classmates, we aren't just giving a lecture, we are building a community of support that empowers everyone to perform at their best. Because let's face it, PA school is already hard enough as it is.
So, looking at the results from the pre and post test on the left, we wanted to see the engagement with educational videos. We saw that there was a slight increase in engagement. This showed that students would most likely utilize resources that they are provided. On the right, we were looking at the implementation of coping strategies. There was also a slight increase. We saw that there was a shift towards more structured strategies after our intervention, like positive affirmations and self talk. This showed that the intervention may have helped students learn newer coping strategies they previously never used. We also wanted to look at the confidence in managing exam-related anxiety. Overall, we saw that the confidence remained fairly stable with a slight shift towards the somewhat confident, which is a good indicator showing that there was at least no decrease in confidence, indicating the intervention helped maintain baseline confidence. Looking at the confidence in exam preparedness, this also largely stayed the same. While the intervention did not significantly increase the confidence in exam preparedness, it helped maintain existing coping and studying habits. Analyzing the objectives we had for our intervention, we saw that there was a slight increase in the use of structured coping strategies. However, the 75% target that we were hoping for was not fully reached. We hope in the future we can get more participants as well as have a longer time frame for our intervention. Objective 2 for program resources by next year. This objective is currently in progress. We hope to use our videos and photo novellas for incoming PA students. Objective 3, confidence in accessing accommodations. Students are exposed to resources and accommodations, but the confidence in accessibility is still pretty limited for us. Objective 4 is for the knowledge of strategies and resources. Students are aware of the coping strategies and available resources for managing test anxiety, indicating that there's a success in increasing their baseline knowledge.
So in conclusion, one of the most impactful aspects of our project was using the pre and post intervention assessments. This allowed us to objectively evaluate whether our intervention made a difference or not. By comparing responses, we were able to see a reduction in perceived test anxiety and improved confidence in managing it. This was important because it did show that even simple practical strategies like breathing exercises, shake it out techniques, EFT tapping, and positive affirmations can be effective and easily implemented by PA students. Another key strength was the way we delivered our content using multiple formats. We created a photo novella that included research, statistics, coping strategies, and resources like OSAS. And we also developed a video to align with more current accessible platforms. This approach helped increase engagement and made the material more relatable and easier to apply by students. And also by addressing different learning styles, we were able to make the intervention more inclusive and practical for all students. One area of growth would be improving our ability to evaluate long-term effectiveness. There were time constraints as we were limited to short-term assessments. We were not able to follow up on whether students continued using the strategies or experienced lasting benefits. Additionally, there were different exam schedules across all three cohorts, so it made coordination more challenging and sometimes impacted like the consistency of our workflow. So in the future, establishing more structured timelines early on, planning around cohort exam schedules, it could help improve efficiency. Also incorporating a longer follow-up period along with planned check-ins would also allow for a better understanding of the sustained impact of our intervention.
What's our call to action? For the students, we challenge every student to adopt one coping strategy from our intervention during their next exam. Afterwards, reflect on how this helped you and what other strategies you may need to implement for future exams. For the faculty, implementing some sort of mental health support and test-taking workshops, as well as providing low-stake practice exams, and integrating some sort of wellness and stress management in the PA curriculum.